Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, The Intersection. The object of this video is to present to you the material that I did in class on Wednesday, and that is the reviewing the constructors and the keyword this, the keyword static, and the toString. As you can see, I have created the class called students, and I also created a main or public class main for ease of to make this video a little bit short. And so and in this public class, I'm going to have two properties. I'm going to have a student name, and I'm going to have a student's ID. And here's the property name and the property ID. The ID, of course, is a number, is going to be an integer. And if I go into the main class, which is I have already created, and if I instantiate the students class with an object student, so an object students, its data type students with an S, that's the main class. And if I run it, even though I don't have any constructors written, so there is no written constructor here, so the default constructor runs in the back. So if I run it, I will get null and 0 because in the students class, in the class itself, the students class, I don't have the name set to any value, and I don't have the ID set to any value. But because it's an integer, already a 0, gives it a 0. If it's a string, gives it a null. Now, can I call the default constructor? Can I explicitly call it? Yes, I can. So how do we create constructors? We create constructors by using their public. So I use public. As you can see, it's the specifier is public, and then the class name itself, students, and then the argument. And in here, I can reset the name and the ID. So I can reset the name to be something like placeholder or something like that, placeholder. And you can also set the ID to a 0 because you can't put a string in there, so it has to be a 0. Now, if we run this one more time, we will get the placeholder instead of null, and 0 is still 0 because we can't put a string in there. So here's what we get, say placeholder is 0. This is running all the time in the background. If I go and overload this, so this is called the default, this is called the default constructors. This is the overloaded constructor. It's the same name for the default constructor there, but as you can see in the argument, we have the properties there. So we are reassigning the name that has placeholder with the new name, which a value is going to come from the driver class, the main class, and we're also reassigning the ID, another value that comes in from the driver class. And if you note the difference between them again is the argument itself. The argument itself here has these two values that we are going to receive from the main method. So these are called overloaded constructors. So the default, no arguments, and the overloaded with an argument. So now if we go back into our main method here, we can now set these two new values. Let's say the name of the student Steve Miller, and his ID is 1587. If we then run this, we will get Steve Miller and then 2587. And if we run it, here we go, Steve Miller 2587. Now I'm going to demystify the word this for you. Let's assume that instead of new name, I have name. Instead of new ID, I have just an ID. So those match is exactly the same property values that I have here. Same property name that I have here, ID and name. And of course, I have to fix this too. I made it easy for myself. I just added the word new before them, so I can just delete new, and then becomes like those. If I do that, if I run this, it's mapping itself to itself. So if I run it again, I'm going to get this placeholder, and I'm going to get this 0, because I will not get these values here, because I'm mapping them to themselves again, and themselves are these values. Okay, so let's run it, and you can see we're going to get or null. So we get null and 0. Now how to fix this is to use the word or the keyword this. So we're saying this name should be assigned this name, and this ID, which is this ID, should be assigned this ID. These are placeholders. They are from here. So if I run it one more time, I'm going to get Steve Miller and 2587. So now we solve the question, the two things, constructors and the word this. Now static. Static is a method that can be called. It doesn't have to be instantiated. It can be called from the class itself. So it starts with the word public. So it's public static void display, the name of the method, and then let's have a statement like this to print this. Now I can call this display method by using the class name itself, the class students, and type use the students, and then dot, and I get this. I didn't have to use the instance of the class, which is I can if I let's just copy this one more time. Use student, which is the object, the instance, and without an S, I believe. Yep, without an S. This, and it does work too, but the idea of using a static, you can call it from the class itself without instantiating, without any instantiation. So even if I don't have this, and it's still I don't get I will say thank you, and if I save it and run it, I still get thank you, because I don't have to instantiate for static. I don't have to instantiate. I can have a static variable here, but that's will make this video long, and I don't want to do that. Last thing for this video is to use the toString, and the toString function or method. I'm sorry, it should be called a method. It overloads the system.out.println. And so how do we create the toString? The toString is a method. So here's how we create the toString. Again, you have to use the keyword toString. And then it's a return method. So it will return, it's a data type string. It returns the values that, or the property values after resetting. So if I create this, and then so let's go to the main, and let's run this toString method, and let's comment these two, and now we should get the output from the toString method. Thank you for visiting my homepage. That's from the static method, from this static method. And the toString, here's the name, Steve Miller, and the ID, and I have a new line because I have the \n for the new line. Thank you for watching my video, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.